Welcome back to Blackthorn Prod and to another indie game devlog where I take you on my journey to creating and releasing a full game on Steam, from a simple idea in my mind to something everyone can experience and hear and see all over the world. The project I'm working on using Unity is called Rising Sun, and this title is likely to change, but until I have a better name, that's how I'll refer to it. I've made a ton of progress since the last devlog, despite catching a nasty flu which left me dazed and crushed for a couple days. Anyway, let's dive right into it. First of all, the game's boss battles. Between every area in the Rising Sun universe, the player must fight a boss to move on to the next set of levels. So far I had created Black Swing and the Rotating Horror. So first of all I polished those up a bit and increased the difficulty ever so slightly. The battles are fast-paced, simple and exciting, so skilled players will quickly dispatch them after a harrowing couple seconds without getting bored. Oh, and now the player does take damage if he collides with the heart or the head of boss 1 when he's white and not orange, which was something many of you said I should do in the comments, and you were totally right. Next up I created the Sharpener, the Winged Mother, Floral Doom, and Moving Nightmare. I'll talk about each and every one now, but in short, at the end of area 1, 2 and 3, the player will face two potential boss characters now. For area 1, Fields of Gold, he might encounter Black Swing or the Winged Mother, who basically spawns pesky flying minions every few seconds, who frantically chase after the player. In area 2, Lushlands, Flame Boy might come face to face with the Rotating Horror or Floral Doom, who throughout the fight sprouts extra deadly flowers who shoot projectiles at the player. And in area 3, the Crimson Hollow, he may meet the Sharpener, who rotates around a circular arena and eventually sprouts howling heads to haunt the player. Or a favourite of mine, the Moving Nightmare. This twirly boss planet moves around the scene, and the player must simply dash around it to dodge these spiky, horrific blocks. It's the only boss character for now who takes damage over time without the player actually needing to slam into anything. I also improved the opening for each boss with a cool artistic splash screen created for each boss character before the encounter. Just adds some extra cinematic polish. So now we have some more variety and freshness when it comes to boss battles in my game. But I will certainly not stop there. I think at least 3 bosses per area is a must, and I of course still need to create the game's final boss found at the end of area 4, as well as some secret ones perhaps. With that said, I actually did complete the game's 4th area, Tenebrous Sky. As I said in the last devlog, this challenging and final part of the game is extra unique from the other 3 because of the completely free movement the player has. He doesn't need to dash between objects on a planet, but can click to move anywhere. However, despite this newfound freedom, he's up for a very tough fight, with the addition of these eerie light blue creatures who deal damage when he's in his orange fiery attack state, as opposed to the classic enemy characters who deal damage to the hero when he's white and who die when he's orange and burning. This all makes for a challenging dance between blue and normal enemies. I added to the world this long rotating spiky horror and this bugger who holds an orange flame within him. The player will find it harder to chain kill a bunch of blue enemies with this one lurking around, since it will turn him orange and so vulnerable against the blue hordes thrown his way. The gameplay and challenge found in Tenebrous Sky is probably my favourite. A few of you pointed out in the comments that the backgrounds in every level were a bit bland and boring. This was to minimize clutter and confusion. However, I did create a few very simple faded out shapes which I added to the scenes. Everything is still nice and readable, but with that extra little bit of interesting detail and depth which I think improves things all in all. At this point I decided to take a small break from game making and headed over to Steamworks, where I would begin setting up the game's store page. I went through that whole process when creating the Dreadful Whispers, which is my previous big game, so this time around it was a whole lot less scary and confusing, but a lot of fun. I paid the $100 fee to begin, and then busied myself taking screenshots of my world, making a placeholder trailer showing off some gameplay, and writing a short description. This was in fact very helpful and refreshing. It let me summarize and clarify in my mind what Rising Sun is all about. As I wrote, it's a very simple game, designed for both casual gamers wanting to jump in and have some fun for a couple minutes, but I'll be adding enough depth and secrets and achievements to satisfy hungrier players. At its core, this experience is all about the player's mastery over the dash move and being able to quickly react to whatever random situation is thrown his way. Of course, everything on this store page will change throughout development. I just wanted it up and running to boost my motivation and see the light at the end of the mad game dev tunnel, but mostly to get a clearer vision of where I'm going and what this game is about. You can also wishlist the game now, which is massively encouraging, and doing so will simply help you remember to play the game when it finally gets released. Now, the title Rising Sun is really cool, but there's a couple reasons why I'm thinking about changing it. First of all, a quick Google search shows me there's already a Boars game with the same name, a film, and it's also the symbol of an old Japanese flag used during World War II and apparently offensive in East Asia. Not sure if that's too much of a problem since my game has nothing to do with any of that. However, there's also a couple things on Steam under the name Rising Sun, so I'm concerned my title will need to unnecessarily compete with all of this stuff when a simple change of name could avoid trouble. I will of course need to go back in and change the artwork I created on my Steam page, but that's fine, so I'll think about it. The game's story is fleshing itself out in my mind, and I have a couple other title ideas floating about, so by the next devlog I'll most probably settle on something for sure. In the meantime, the game is still called Rising Sun, and that's about all I have to share for now. I hope you enjoyed this inside look at the progress I'm making on my game. My current plan is to create the final boss and polish and expand upon the merchant worlds, so the player has more cool stuff to purchase using his hard-earned loot. Before I go, I wanted to give a shout out to Thin Matrix, a fellow indie game developer recovering from some very tough times, but he's back in town, so a warm good luck and welcome back, Carl. With that said, thank you to my patrons, as always, who support me and my game dev projects every month, and remember, you can also easily support Blackthorn Prod by wishlisting my game and giving me feedback on this world in the comments. Okay, stay tuned, see you all soon, cheers.